The benefit of this panel discussion is that it gives an opportunity for the professionals and the business community present here to clarify, to be enlightened some of the issues that faces the country. I would like to start with Secretary to the President, Mr. Lalit Viratunga. Mr. Viratunga, President in his speech mentioned about he has delivered on governance. But the very issue is being discussed widely, both sides of the society and the political spectrum. Can you explain how differently has President Rajapaksa has delivered on the good governance aspect?
President Rajapaksa had always kept in mind one particular thing in his program of governance. The need of the public has always been uppermost in his mind. When certain leaders have made decisions, I have seen certain flaws. I don't want to name them. That's not fair by those leaders. But I want to be fair by my leader, President Rajapaksa, who has always been very careful in taking decisions, taking into consideration many things. You see, I may see certain things in a certain way, but at that level, as a president who has to take consideration of provincial things, district-wise things, community-wise issues, people who represent this country, who will come and tell him, you know, this is what is happening, this is what is happening, can you address these things? He has always stuck to a program where he has given the most importance to the public needs more than anything else. In doing so, he has not violated any procedure or practice that has been there in the government maybe from the time we gained independence.
Results at any cost. I mean, the cost factor has been always highlighted as someone the future generation will have to pay. How would you counter that?
That's a very good point as well. You see, that comes us to the debt situation. So I have heard criticism where people have said that we are in a debt trap. But you have to understand what is the debt level of a country in relation to the country's GDP, the gross domestic product of the country. Now, in that sense, Nista, we have seen that at some time in the past, especially in 2005, when this administration took office, the debt levels of the country was 91% of the GDP of the country. Today, it has come down to 75%, which is after the massive investments that we have made in restoring law and order, in restoring the infrastructure to a proper level, in enabling the country to have sound macro fundamentals, we still have a debt level which as a percentage of GDP is much lower than what we had. So again, I would say that the investment has been proper. The overall investment has provided results. GDP levels have gone up. The per capita incomes have gone up. People live much better lives than what they were. So overall, as Mr. Viratunga quite rightly said, there would be certain instances where we have to investigate if there is any complaint of specific issues of governance. But as an overall result, the governance has improved, the good governance has provided good results, is something that we cannot debate about, and I think that has been established beyond any doubt.
Thanks. Defense Secretary.
The research and development is a very important factor. I think addressing most of these, even in some of the lectures came that we have to go to the world market. So that in that sense, so in this aspect, actually, in the UDA, I work with some of the professionals, and one project I have started is the Expert City project. This is the old Tripoli market. I request, if you all have not been to that place, to visit that and see that. There it's I have already completed the first phase. Now we are going into the second and third. Lot of professionals from many areas we were able to bring to this place. The software developers, various engineers, mechanical engineers, and all kinds of people, electrical engineers, to come together and I have created an environment so that they can discuss, brainstorm, and to come out with new ideas. So this is one project that I have used the professionals with the government development.
What kind of opportunities do you think global brands would see in Sri Lanka going forward?
There isn't a single country where economic independence has been achieved or economic growth has been achieved without the presence of international participation. Right? So having said that, if we just focus on the Sri Lanka situation, in every key sector there is presence by multinational brands. You take the banking sector, especially when it comes to corporate finance, all the top global brands are here. And they've been here for quite a long time. It's not just something that has happened over the past 10 years. I mean, take the milk food industry. One can say, you can depend on your own sort of local operations, but you see presence. Take the hotel industry. Defense Secretary Mr. Gotabaya talked about some of the investments that have come in, seen the sustainability of the country, having confidence in the country, them coming and making investments. So I can go on and on talking about some of those examples, but we clearly see presence of those global brands. Why is it important? And when I address the forum at the Cinnamon Lake, I happen to mention that it is important for the local companies to think of crossing borders, because we are a small market, and in that small market, local companies trying to share the pie will help the country to a lesser extent than local companies playing effectively, successfully in the local market, but also going across our borders and bringing in foreign revenue. That's the only way we can expand the economy.
There is this unprecedented number of hotels being built. And the one key concern is, are we overbuilding, and whether the country would have the numbers to fill those.
1982 to about 2009, tourism just stood still. And it's a miracle that we survived during that time. So now it's a time to not only build hotels, but create different experiences for tourists. Like what Defense Secretary said, now with the city development, that becomes a major tourist attraction as well. So therefore, I think we are just starting the tourism journey back again. So we have a plan now, hopefully by 2020, to attract more than 4 million tourists. So that's, I mean, we have just half the capacity. So we should not focus only building in Colombo, but we should build everywhere else in the country as well. So there is great opportunity. We have a 5-star island. We are blessed with so much of natural beauty, all of that. So now the opportunity is created for us who are in tourism to make use of it. Until 2009, we couldn't make use of it. We were only going and begging from the foreign countries to relax a travel advisory, do this, do that, purely because tourists did not come. With safety and stability in the country, tourists are now flocking in. Believe me, only this year that we really started a massive promotional campaign outside. The tourists came here until now purely on safety and stability. Number one ingredient for tourism is safety and stability. You can talk of the beaches, you can talk of the history, culture. If there is no safety and stability, tourists will not come here. So therefore, now tourism is blossoming out. Now we are carrying out massive campaigns in China, India, Western Europe, Middle East, and all these countries. So I recommend that we build more, but build sensitively, build with sustainability in mind. So don't just go and build for the sake of building. I mean, Nishtha, I mean to answer your other question, that the numbers are, I don't think the numbers are down. Another thing that's happening is some of the tourists who are coming here are not necessarily going into the hotels that we have. They are going into what is called the informal sector. Those who have a room somewhere, those who have a house empty, now can rent that. And they will make money as well, which is, I think, very important. because tourism is for everybody in the country, not for a few companies. So therefore, they can also make money. There are ways now to promote tourism to all of them. So the whole world is open for us to promote our destination.
I'll move to Diane. There is this concern. I know one of the slides showed exports doubling from 2007 or 9, from 11 billion to, from about doubling to about 10 billion in as of last year. There is this exports of Perish was a major campaign those days. The reason why exports have to be increased is because we need to boost the reserves via exports. You're a flagship industry in the exports. What is your own outlook, one from an apparel perspective, and whether Sri Lanka can really drive the exports aspect?
For an example, if you look at the last 4 years, we have grown to be MAS Holdings, to be a $1.4 billion Sri Lankan company. Now, the biggest reason is the cessation of the war. Because 5 years ago, to get the buyers to come here, we need to travel to New York, London, or Hong Kong to show our product, to market. And we have to make presentations and presentations to sell Sri Lanka. I mean, I've gone for hundreds of presentations to sell Sri Lanka that this is the most ethical manufacturing locations in the world, but yet if the bombs are going on, and the adversity of some of these countries because of the diaspora giving us negative feedback in the press was creating a lot of problems. Today it's not there. Today we have started a plant in Kilinochchi which employs nearly 2,000 people. So you can see the progress, because the issue will be, how productive we have to become. And we have in the last few years went on a drive of introducing lean manufacturing, Toyota lean manufacturing into our plants, then having a speed models because closer to the customer. Now we have the infrastructure available, the ports, airports, etc., which gives us a competitive edge. So I think if you're looking at it as a Sri Lankan apparel industry, it will tend to grow. But we have to be more competitive, we have to be more productive.
What has been the emphasis for the promotion of the local producer, the local firm, despite Kishu saying there is no local and global business, but everything is a global business, but just the emphasis with regard to local producer, local firm, because you have diversified locally very significantly.
Yeah, let me start by saying competition is very healthy, and I think we must encourage competition. And the best practices which we have in Sri Lanka will be challenged and improved further if we have international competition and international brands. We have had a great opportunity to link up with the with the road network. Infrastructure. Earlier we had difficulty in linking these areas. It used to take us a long time to get to some of these locations. For instance, Jaffna was a no-no. I mean, you couldn't go there. I mean, it takes, even if you had to bring produce there, you had to unload, reload by the time the whole thing is waste. Today, these infrastructure and the stability we have in the country makes markets accessible to producers as well as to the consumer. Now, what companies require is to keep improving their processes, as Dan mentioned, ethical practices, ethical processes in terms of, environment, etc., and in employing people, encouraging people, training people, giving some share of their profitability into development of the human resource. I think this is where the multinational brands invest heavily in investing in the human resource side and encouraging them to come out of the box and create better, affordable products and brands which satisfies every stakeholder.